Hello, I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. When Peggy Shepard came to New York, it was with the intention of pursuing a career as a magazine editor, a path she had started on in Indianapolis. But life has a way of changing course. Drawn into the battle her Harlem neighbors were waging to keep their neighborhood from being a dumping ground for environmental hazards, she turned that activism into a full-time job. A co-founder of We Act for Environmental Justice and its executive director for the past 18 years, she is still working to make it possible for her neighbors to literally breathe freely. We'll discuss what We Act has accomplished and what it aims to do going forward to make lives better for New Yorkers. Welcome.
Thank you.
As I said, when you came to New York City in the 70s, you came here as a magazine editor. Tell me about how you got drawn into environmental activism.
Well, I went to work as a speechwriter for the New York State Division of Housing. And while I was there, a number of political appointees who I was friendly with said, this Saturday, David Dinkins is holding a volunteer meeting for the Jesse Jackson campaign for president. And this was his first campaign. And my parents had grown up with David Dinkins in Trenton, New Jersey. And so I decided I'd go to the meeting. I was interested in being a volunteer. And I left that meeting walking on air because I became the public relations director for the Manhattan campaign for Jesse Jackson. And that really gave me the opportunity to work with a broad array of delegates, of potential delegates around the city and around the state. It gave me an opportunity to go to different neighborhoods and to understand the difference in resources that some neighborhoods had versus other neighborhoods, and understand the strong advocacy some had that others did not. And that led to me, after the campaign, being asked if I would consider running for Democratic district leader in West Harlem, where I had moved. And I was asked, do you want to consider being out front, or do you want to continue supporting candidates behind the scenes? And so I had some opinions and ideas about what I thought should happen in the neighborhood, about how we could be more politically active and create change. And so I did run for Democratic district leader with Chuck Sutton, who was the nephew of Percy Sutton. And we ran together, called Leadership for Change was our slogan, and we were elected. And the first issue that came to us from volunteers in our campaign was at the North River Sewage Treatment Plant, which is located between 138th and 145th Streets in the Hudson River, that it was about to open and go online, and people needed jobs. Could we get people jobs there? And so we spent time, and we got about 30 people hired. And then the plant began operating, and we realized that it was not really simply a jobs issue. It was an air quality and environmental issue.
Now, when I met you, the issue was the noxious odors coming from the plant. And I gather, people, I don't know if it was from the state or the city, would come and they would do tests, and they said, well, we have no evidence, there's no noxious odors coming out of the plant. And then the neighbors would say, but we smell it. We smell the noxious odors. So that was the second issue, the smells. Was that something that was resolved, that you all got resolved?
So we spent 8 years organizing the community, helping to educate everyone, including myself, about the issues of how does a plant operate? What's the purpose? What's the government mandate for it? How can we create change here? We realized that we couldn't shut it down because it was mandated by the federal government to clean up the Hudson River, which was very polluted. But there were the unintended consequences of air emissions. And so we began reaching out to the Columbia School of Public Health and Harlem Hospital to find out if there were more emergency room admissions coming from the zip codes near the North River plant. And what we found out a couple of years later was that Harlem was experiencing 3 times the asthma rate of other communities in New York City. And we realized that we were in the midst of an asthma epidemic and that the air emissions from North River were exacerbating asthma in children living near the plant.
Okay. And you were able to get Mayor Dinkins to commit some money to abating the odors. Now, did it take
Absolutely.
8 years to do that?
Well, the 8 years of organizing was under the Koch administration.
Okay.
And Mayor Koch did not have a good relationship with uptown electeds. And he kept saying that there was no problem. They had state-of-the-art equipment. But what happened was that David Dinkins, who had lived uptown, just north of the plant, became Manhattan Borough President. And so we reached out to him, and he funded Barry Commoner, who was a nationally known environmentalist at Queens College. He funded Barry Commoner to do a study on the operations of the plant. And that study gave us the data to really inform residents, talk to the media in an informed way, and really begin to impact policymakers, because we understood what we were up against, we understood what the issues were, we understood how the plant needed to be maintained in order to be a good neighbor.
So you really got the cleanup when Dinkins became mayor? Was that when he became mayor?
And
Okay.
so 4 years later, David Dinkins became mayor, and he's appointed an environmentalist, Al Appleton at DEP, and they said, there's a problem and we're going to fix it.
Okay. A more recent issue with that plant concerns the high levels of formaldehyde coming out of there.
That's correct. So a couple of months ago, we found out that because of the aging engines at the North River plant, that there were emissions of formaldehyde that exceeded the state regulations. So they are now doing increased testing to understand if those increased testing on Riverside Drive to understand whether those emissions are affecting the public and really emanating into the community.
Okay. Now, We Act was founded in 1988, and it was founded over a different issue concerning bus depot at where were they locating it at?
So there was a bus depot being located at 133rd and 12th
Okay.
Avenue, which is right across the street from 3333 Broadway, and a junior high school. And we felt that clearly that was not the place for a couple of hundred of diesel bus depots to be located. And so we went to court to file a lawsuit asking for an environmental impact statement. That was not deemed necessary because when transportation facilities are owned by a government agency, they do not have to go through environmental review for further development, as long as that facility is being used for transportation. Mm-hmm. And so we were not able to stop the depot. We were able to stop housing being built on top of the depot.
Oh, they were going to build housing on top of it?
They were going to joint venture with the Harlem Community Development Corporation to put senior citizen housing there.
Now, what did you have against the housing? What was the problem with the housing?
The problem was that diesel fumes are carcinogens. They have toxins and fine particles that exacerbate asthma and heart disease, and it is simply a very serious health impact.
Mm-hmm. And it would be to the members of the community and certainly to the elderly people on top of the building,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. You told me there are currently 5 bus depots above 96th Street.
That's correct.
So there would be where exactly?
So there's one at 126 and First Avenue near the Triborough Bridge. There's one at 129th and Amsterdam, 133rd and 12th, 147th and Lenox.
Why so many bus depots uptown?
Well, I think historically, Manhattan was populated downtown and uptown was fairly rural. And so there was land there, and so trolley barns were established there for the trolley system that used to run.
Okay. But you have been able to pressure the MTA to convert the buses
That's correct.
to hybrids. So they use a hybrid of what and what?
So they are hybrids, diesel electric. Some are compressed natural gas. Mm-hmm. And so that has cleaned up the entire city fleet.
Okay.
So we've been, very happy about that. We now find out that the city feels that the hybrids do not operate well on New York City streets, which are fairly rugged, and they want to go back and reinvest in diesel buses. So we will have to monitor that situation.
Okay. We ACT started as an all-volunteer organization. Who were your first, where'd you get your first members and supporters from?
So I was the Democratic district leader. We had a Democratic club, and we had probably 60 or 70 members of the club. And so they were the first volunteers for We ACT. And the leaders there were the ones who actually, helped us organize buildings along Riverside Drive, helped us have a civil disobedience on Martin Luther King Day on the West Side Highway to bring attention to the problems at North River. So our first volunteers were community residents who had been part of our Democratic club and politically active.
When you became a professionally organized organization in 1994, it was partly with a $1 million settlement that you had gotten against the city over North River?
That's correct. So we were able to get a couple $100,000 grant from that fund to start our organization, hired the first 3 people. Today we have about 15 staff, and we also have a small office in Washington to focus on federal policy on climate change and air quality.
And where does your funding come from?
It's probably 90% from private foundations.
Okay. From my conversations with you, you are very literate on not just on the environmental issues, but on the science of environmental hazards. How does a nice woman journalist get up to speed on these issues?
Reading. When you talk about environmental justice issues in underserved communities, 6, 7 different issues can come at you at once. We're working on energy security. Somebody might say, we've got all these pests and rats in our community. What can we do about that? So we'll work on sanitation. After Sandy, we're working on climate resilience to ensure that our communities are not negatively impacted by extreme heat events or extreme weather events. And how do we prepare them and create the social cohesion so that we are able to get through those extreme weather events in a positive way? So the issues are vast: getting toxics out of kids' toys, having healthier housing, ensuring that the city makes the repairs indoors, because indoor air quality issues affect our health.
So I guess I would imagine journalistic skills would come in handy, because you're approaching new subjects almost every day or every week, and you have to come up to speed and become a sort of a quick expert on a lot of these things. So you do the same kind of research that journalists do.
Absolutely. Research, reading, and being able to ask the right questions, and not being afraid to hold people accountable.
Okay.
One city council person used to say to me, "Who are you beating up today?" And I didn't feel that that's what I was doing, but you've got to hold people accountable, and you've got to hold government accountable. Because in New York City, it is mostly government facilities that are affecting communities. In other cities, it might be private facilities.
That's interesting. We're going to be back with more with Peggy Shepard, Executive Director of We ACT for Environmental Justice, after this message. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm speaking with Peggy M. Shepard, Executive Director of We ACT for Environmental Justice. You were saying earlier that New York has some of the highest rates of asthma in the country. And I think especially in East Harlem and in the South Bronx. Why is that?
Some of the issues are the glaring health disparities that we have between communities. We have more vulnerable people, we have lower income populations that might not be starting out with good health status. We also know that Puerto Rican boys tend to have a higher rate or higher prevalence of asthma. Again, some of that may be biological, but also the contributor that's very important, at least to my organization, is the environment. You know, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation says that your zip code can predict your health status.
And in fact, asthma tends to track poor neighborhoods.
That's correct. Asthma as well as lead poisoning. The same communities that have high lead poisoning rates also have high asthma rates.
So we're talking about maybe buildings that are not well taken care of, that have lead in them, that may have rodents, other mold, whatever.
That's right.
Okay.
Mold, mouse allergen, roach allergens, those are all huge exacerbators of asthma. So housing conditions, very important.
Okay. How would you rate New York City's air quality in general?
Manhattan is a non-attainment area for clean air standards, meaning it does not meet federal standards for air quality. So our air quality is not great. And a lot of the reason is Midwest power plants, which is why President Obama has instituted the Clean Power Plan to reduce pollutants from Midwest power plants that are burning coal. Also because of mobile sources. We have a lot of traffic. We have a lot of heavy-duty trucks. And so all of that traffic and transit where they're using neighborhood streets creates a serious pollution problem.
Yeah. You hear people talk about environmental racism, by which I gather they mean the citing of environmental hazards in communities that are inhabited by people of color, whether it's sewage plants or bus depots or electrical whatever stations.
Waste transfer stations, power plants.
Right. Is environmental racism a reality in New York City? And if so, what are some of the ways it's played out in this city?
Well, environmental racism is also about the lack of enforcement of environmental regulations, about the lack of information about hazards in poor communities. So when we look at that broad definition, we can look at government agencies and we can understand that they are not enforcing regulations as much as they could. They're not providing the information for people to understand where hazards are and what they can do to eliminate them or to not be confronted by them. One instance is the state government declared a Superfund site at 142nd and 5th Avenue in a building there. They did not notify all of the elected officials and the community boards.
And this was a place where they had a dry cleaners there.
They had a dry cleaners there.
That had leached toxic chemicals into the soil.
And in order for that building to be safe for people to inhabit, that soil had to be cleaned up. The cleanup was not effective and was not comprehensive, and so chemicals were leaching into the building. And at the time, the Department of Education had located a school there. A month later, because Mark Green at the time, who had been the public advocate, was able to get a concession from the city to do continuous air monitoring, they found a month after these kindergartners were moved into this building that the chemical issues had worsened and the chemicals were leaching into the building. And so the children were evacuated and the building was closed. It was then declared a state Superfund site, but the state did not notify people. And so the landlord illegally began renting to people to come into the building. And so we were notified a couple of years ago by tenants in the building that they just found out that the building was under rehabilitation and that they shouldn't even be in the building. And so we began meeting with the state. You know, they didn't know that the building was being inhabited. These are all things that lax enforcement brings. And so that's what we mean, again, by environmental racism.
Okay.
I think that there is a new consciousness by state and city agencies. The environmental justice community in New York City has been very active and very vocal. So we hope that those things do not continue to happen. But without vigilance, you know,
all kinds of stuff
all kinds of
happens.
things continue to happen.
And if you look at the history of the North River sewage treatment plant, it was originally slated to be sited at West 72nd Street, which is a largely white, you know,
That's right.
sort of the Lincoln Center kind of area. But I assume because of community opposition, it was not sited there, and then it was moved up to West Harlem.
That's right. Developers went to the City Planning Commission. In fact, I spoke to one of the City Planning Commissioners. She's since died, but spoke to her some years ago, and she was there when developers came and lobbied them to move the plant out of that neighborhood. And so it was moved to Harlem.
Because they felt it was going to interfere with property values. People
That's
wouldn't,
right.
Okay. Columbia University Center for Children's Environmental Health has been a partner with you, and they do research on various environmental hazards. And they've been doing an interesting study, I guess it's 15 years old now, on about 700 expectant mothers and their children. Tell me about some of their, in the South, in Harlem and in the South Bronx. Tell me about some of their findings.
Well, they've been looking at a number of exposures. One of the exposures has been diesel exhaust. And so there are toxins in diesel exhaust called PAH, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and they have been looking at the impact of those toxins on pregnant women and then their offspring. So pregnant mom wore a backpack air monitor. We were able to detect what she was breathing in. Those pollutants were able to cross the placenta and sensitize the child in utero. And then we found by following the children and administering developmental tests that many were born with smaller head size, smaller body weight, which could mean intellectual deficits. Also, by following them, we've been able to see that the PAH impact has also impacted obesity and the risk of asthma.
Okay. So all kinds of problems.
All
that
kinds of
people
problems.
are not necessarily aware of.
Aware of. Yes.
And they have also found that phthalates, which come from what?
So phthalates are a chemical plasticizer. So you would find them in a baby sippy cup or
Okay.
a pacifier. They make plastic softer.
Right.
And so we've been able to translate those findings and get BPA banned at the state legislature in children's products for kids under the age of 6.
Because they have an impact on mental development.
That's correct.
Issues. And cockroaches and mice and secondhand smoke can cause increases in asthma, all kinds of impacts.
And that's why indoor air quality and healthy housing is so important because children and all of us spend so much time indoors.
We have about a minute and a half for you to tell us about what you feel some of your proudest major accomplishments have been as we act.
Certainly cleaning up the city's bus fleet for all the buses throughout New York City has been very, very important to the public health. And we're very proud of the West Harlem Piers Park. We were able to...
At 125th Street.
At 125th Street in the Hudson River. For those of you who bike or walk, you're now able to go from Battery Park all the way up to Inwood and into the Bronx.
And I do that, and I stopped at the park.
We now have a place, where families can access a wonderful resource and have some wonderful aesthetics.
But it was like 10 years in the
It was 10 years in the making. We organized 200 people to come out and help us design what they thought should be there. We got our elected officials to support us. We got the city to hold off building a hotel or a motel and to see what the community came up with, and we got the city to build the park. And it opened about 4 years ago.
Okay, and you continue to stay vigilant about what's happening at the North River Sewage Plant.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I think, as you said before, that what all of the research suggests and the history, New York history suggests, is that it's really, really necessary for community residents to stay vigilant about current and potential environmental hazards to their community. Otherwise, all kinds of bad stuff can happen.
That's right.
Okay. Very interesting. I'm afraid we're out of time, but I want to thank Peggy M. Shepherd for joining us today. If you'd like to get involved, check out the website at weact.org. For the City University of New York and for One to One, I'm Cheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.